now, let me show you the results for different indications. So this is really interesting, in some cases very depressing. These are success rates for various different disease groups. Oncology is by far the lowest. If you take a look at the overall probability of success from phase 1 all the way to new drug application, 3.4%. That is a horrible average. And what it says is that most cancer drugs by far fail. And you can sort of take a look at where they fail. Phase 1, they generally do pretty well. They have a 57% chance of making it. But now phase 2 to phase 3 is 32%, and then phase 3 to approval is 35%, which is kind of stunning. Phase 3 means that you've already passed phase 2, you're doing phase 3. All you need to do is to increase that sample size, and you fail. So if you take a look at some other categories, you see much better odds. For example, infectious diseases, you're talking 25% probability of success. That's great. And if you take a look at overall, the overall probability of success is at 13.8. But if you take out oncology products, so everything other than oncology, you're at 21%. 21% odds of getting a drug approved from phase 1. So that's actually pretty good odds, but what it does say is that there's something going on in oncology that we really need to deal with. This is probability of success for lead indications, and you'll see that the numbers are slightly higher, which makes sense because the lead is typically selected to be the most favorable for the particular drug. And by the way, I apologize for the small numbers. You have all of this on Stellar, so you can take a look at it at your leisure. And one thing that we do that no other paper has done, as far as I can tell, is we use 5-year rolling windows to see how these numbers have changed over time, because these things aren't the same. And what we find is that over the last few years, there's been an increase in success rates for phase 3 trials. The other ones don't change as much, but overall what it means is that over the course of the last few years, things have gotten better. We don't know why that is. There may be a number of reasons. Maybe the drug development process has gotten better. Maybe the FDA has recovered from their Vioxx period where they became very, very conservative. There are many dynamics going on. And another interesting aspect data that we have is biomarkers. Biomarkers are certain telltale signatures that allow you to stratify the patient population and differentiate among them. Typically, they're genetic biomarkers, but it can be many other features. And so the question is, do biomarkers increase or decrease the chances of approval? And it turns out that it varies across the different indications. In some cases, it has no bearing whatsoever. In other cases, it helps quite a bit. And so where it does help is where you might imagine, which is cancer. We know that cancer is a genetic disease of a sort. And as a result, when you take a look at the probability of approval with biomarkers versus without biomarkers, you do see that biomarkers helps in oncology. But in other areas, it doesn't. So there's some variability that you need to keep in mind.